Hey, how's everybody doing? Gonna do a little mixing Q&A today. I've got Kit over here. We've also got Harper running OBS for me. There he is. There's Harper and me. I'm gonna be working a little bit on this mix, but also I'll be see you, man. I'll be taking questions if anybody's got any questions about mixing.
Hey there, Hong Kong.
I've got a song here that I've been working on for a band called the Ansley Stewart Band. So I'm going to work on that a little bit, but if anybody's got any questions, let me know. And I just realized my Twitch title is wrong, but what the heck? I actually am mixing drums here. So I'm going to work on that a little bit, but if you got any questions, type them into the comments there, into the chat, and I'll take whatever questions you got. Hopefully I'll have a good answer. So yeah, let's go to the DAW view here. Oh yeah, I wanted to work on these guitar parts here. So this is an early mix. Hey Swap, what's up? So yeah, this is the song here. I normally actually set up my mixes a little bit more ahead of time of streams, but because I'm going to be installing the new mixer today and I've been doing a bunch of other stuff, I'm not as prepared, but that's probably good. So then you can actually see about my wacky mixing process here, but I'm gonna kind of start on the things that I think are kind of more important to the mix as far as like the music. I don't have the vocals in yet, so I'm just gonna work on these guitar parts a little bit. Oh, so I've got a question here from, oh, I cannot pronounce this name. Oh my God. Hey, Warren, what's up? How do I get the double effect on vocals? Well, let me show you. I just have them sing twice, like this. Just have her sing twice.
If you can't see what you've done,
that's the easiest way. Now, if somebody sent you something that you're mixing and there was no double, you know, what I'll do sometimes is, like if it's in a chorus, for instance, I will, and if they didn't cut and paste the chorus, maybe I'll grab the second chorus vocals, put them on another track, and paste them into the first chorus underneath the other one. But if you can't do that, if you've only got one vocal, you can do this. Let me show you. You can go like this. I'm going to take her vocals here. Like, let's say there's no other track, right? This is the quick way to do it. So you go here, and as you can see, I've got this track right here is like the doubled vocals now. The quick way to do it is I'm just going to grab this pitch shift plugin, and actually on Pro Tools I like this old one, and it's got this control here, like I can choose between sound and rhythm. So if I slide it to the rhythm, it's going to be more accurate timing wise, but actually that's not what I want. I want more of the sound. And then I'm going to detune it by negative 12 semitones, and I'm just going to process it. So it's going to give you kind of like a chorus type sound, so it'll be like this.
take me to a place.
Oh, not that. Sorry, that was the wrong setting. Sorry, I meant to do... I didn't sleep much last night. I'm exhausted. Hold on. Sound, I meant to do cents. I meant to say not 12 semitones. Negative 12 cents. Negative 12 cents. Hold on. I'm drinking coffee, I swear. Okay, so... why is this not... hold on, man. Negative 12 cents. Yeah, this is what happens when I don't get sleep. Boom.
Take me to a place far away from.
So that's part way there, but it still just sounds like it's a chorus or something on it. So then I'm going to take those vocals that I pitched and just slide them to the right a little bit, and then it's like this.
Take me to a place far away from here. In between the
And of course it wouldn't be that loud. I would bring it down a little bit. So kind of like that.
Take me to a place far.
And then there's other plugins. There's a Waves plugin, which I don't know if I have. Do I have this thing in here? There's a new rig. No, I don't have that one now. It's because you can basically do a similar thing with this Waves pitch plugin, but it's got a modulation thing on it, and that's really cool. So it's not a steady negative 12 cents. You can make it so it moves, so it kind of gives some movement to it. So that's a really cool approach. Hold on. Somebody else had a question.
Shout out to Ireland.
Hey, what you doing? What's going on in Ireland? Okay, so no, this is totally in the box. Somebody asked, is this in the a hybrid or in the box? I'm totally mixing in the box. I rarely go outside of the box. However, I was mixing a new Rehab song. This band called Rehab from Georgia, and I wanted a different reverb, so I actually used this reverb. This is a old school Alesis reverb, and I just patched that in because it's some of these outboard reverbs, even the cheap ones, sound better than the plugins. But mostly, I'm in the box. Okay, so you're asking, what are my first moves to get in the mood of the song? Well, before I get into the mood of the song, what I do, and actually I was doing that on this one. Let's go back to the DAW here. It's kind of funny because this song's got a lot of tracks. So the first thing I did is, like, if you see here, like, I've got my kicks and they're both orange, and I got my snare and they're kind of, I guess it's kind of like light yellowish tan. This session came in where every track had a different color and everything was titled weird, and I just want to be able to look down and see everything clearly. So I did a bunch of stuff that was more about being able to work easily. So I went through and just kind of like made sure I could read the tracks. You know, all the claps are green and stuff like that. And then I went through and looked for problems, and he had not put fades on some of this stuff. So I went through and made sure I had fades on everything. But if I want to get into the mood of the song, I usually ask the client, like, what do you want? Like, what is your goal? Like, what is the listening space? Or should the listener feel like they're at a concert or in a nightclub or in a garage, you know? And then if they have a rough mix, I'll listen to that. And it's kind of interesting that you asked that question, because I think there's a balance between getting the technical stuff and getting the vibe. And I kind of go back and forth, like boom, 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 boom. So I'll work on technical stuff, and then I try to listen. But probably the best thing to get out of the technical mindset is I get up and I actually walk away from the mixer a lot when I'm mixing. I used to not do that. I used to just sit here and work for hours without moving. And I actually kind of injured myself. I actually kind of messed up my arms and my back because I was just sitting in one place, and I went to a, what do you call it, like an occupational therapist or something like that. And she's like, oh, you need to get up and walk around. But I realized from my head, that's a really good thing because it gives me some perspective. So if I walk out of the room, or I'll walk into another room with the speakers playing in here and just listen to it coming through the doorway, so you're not really hearing, you know, the stereo mix and all that. It's like, well, what does it sound like coming from another room? And that helps me get into the perspective, but the vibe. The other thing is, like, mixing with somebody else in the room. There's so many times I've mixed by myself, and there's something about the experience of having, and it doesn't even have to be the client, just having somebody in the room with me somehow changes the way I experience the music and how I even think about what it is that the song is. So I don't know if that helps you or not, because you're asking about the mood of the song. That's the main thing. But a lot of it's talking to the artists. And like with this band, I actually went out and saw them play live a couple times, and to kind of understand, like looking, like a lot of times when I'm at gigs, I'm looking at the band, but I turn around and look at the audience about half as much time as I'm looking at the band. I'm always looking at people and seeing how they respond when I'm checking out a band that I'm going to work with. So, you know, that was an important thing for me with this particular band. If anybody else has got, hey, Mel, what's going on, man? If anybody else has got any questions, let me know.
Well, the question now is, how much panning for the double vocals?
I'm not seeing my questions here. Well, you know, that depends. Like, on this one, that's actually an interesting question because, like I said, I was just mixing a Rehab song, and I was trying to pan it like left and right. Like, once you get into panning, if you got double vocals, you got to kind of make them the same volume. Otherwise, one's going to be louder on one side and one's going to be louder on the other. And for some kinds of pop music, that's great. You can pan it. So I'll pan them like, I don't know, kind of like that, like 2 and 10, or 10 and 2, however you look at it, something like that. I don't ever go too wide with the lead vocals. But for this kind of band and this kind of music, it didn't seem appropriate. It didn't, and the rehab thing too. So I just kind of keep them up the center, and I just bring the middle one down a little bit. So it's like this. Oh, hold on. Let me turn it back on.
Far away from here.
So there it is with the double in there.
In between the
And then without it.
Lately
And let's go to her actual real, that's the fake double vocal. Here's her real double vocal right here.
If you can't see what you've done, take a look right at the...
And I might not even have it that loud. The other thing is on the doubles, what I typically do is and there's no EQ or compression on any of this stuff. I will use the same processing that I use on the lead vocal. Like I'll just copy the EQ, the compression, all that de-esser, all of that over the double vocal. And then I turn down the high end of the doubled vocal, because something about doubling the vocals always makes it seem like there's more high end in it or something, and often mid range. Hey, Nikki, what's up? So it's like, yeah, I'll take a little high end off the doubled vocal, and sometimes I feel like there's something with the mid range that kind of pops out. So often I'm pulling the mid range on the doubled vocal, and if there's a de-esser on there, I'm often hitting the de-esser a little bit harder. But otherwise, it's about the same as the lead vocal. Omar Rodriguez. So somebody's asking about the Omar Rodriguez Lopez solo albums. I don't know. I don't know if I know who that is. I'm bad with names. If you want to send me a link, shoot a link over. I'll check it out. No, Mill, this is not a finished mix. I'm just getting started on this thing, man. There's a lot going on right now. I had a friend come in last night. We stayed up till 3 a.m. talking, and look at this, dude. Look how many tracks are in here, Mill. Look at this. There's a lot. Look at this. These are just the claps. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be cool, though. I've not done hardly anything. Now, the drummer, Darren Stanley, started the mix. I actually love the way the drums sound. And it was also recorded. Oh, I forget the name of the engineer. I didn't record this. I love this drum sound. Hold on. Let me turn off the vocals. Hold on. Let me put a little fader thing here to make this a little easier to do. Put the vocal thing here. But yeah, check out these drums, man. It's pretty cool. And it's not many tracks. Check it out. Here's the drums. That's cool. And the overhead is like a mono overhead, which I think is really cool. And so I think they just tuned it, and Darren's into this kind of stuff, tuned the snare drum way down. And then on the drum subgroup here, because it's all the drums are coming to this auxiliary, what did he do? This is actually Darren's stuff. I might not touch this because, even though Darren's learning how to mix and learning how to produce, I didn't like what he did on the guitars. I took all that crap off. But the drums, I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I want to. I might make the kick drum hit harder, but check this out. So there's the EQ. We've got a compressor on here, but I don't think it's doing anything. But a lot of it's, he ran lo-fi. There it is without it. But a lot of it's this right here. Double lock. Without it, love double lock. So I'm like, I don't know if I need to touch that. And it's a very mono sounding drum kit, the toms are kind of panned a little bit, but it's like, man, I don't know if I need to touch that. So, okay, so we've got a question here. How to not create phasing issues while mixing, and how to solve phasing because panning creates a lot of issues. I don't know if panning causes phase issues, but as far as phase issues are concerned, I mean, the funny thing is I'm typically not creating phase issues when I'm mixing. I'm usually solving phase issues. For instance, actually, let's go to the snare drum right here. I hadn't even looked at it.
Bill comments that your mic is sounding weird.
My mic is sounding weird? Are you on? Oh, you're on...
Bill's on Twitch.
Twitch, okay. Testing. Hold on. Oh, my compressor's working.
He says it sounds better now.
Oh, I jiggled the cable. That's the first thing. So, for instance, I hadn't even looked that deeply into this. So let's say, I got a live drum kit here. This is one of the most common things. We got the top mic and the bottom mic. And, when it's being recorded, you're supposed to flip the phase. So, actually, he's got it pretty close here, and I'm just going to leave it because I like it. But sometimes I'll get in here and like the bottom snare mic will be kind of like, here, let me put this up in the middle of the screen. It'll be like this, right? Which is going to cause some low end to be pulled out. So usually I get into mixes and I look for stuff like that. Also, on this song, they've got, I still don't know exactly what they did on the guitars, but it looks like, let me get down to the guitars here. It looks like they double mic'd all the guitars. So there's this one part here. Where is it? Oh, right here. I like this guitar part. And like I was doing this last night and it's weird. I was like, well, is it in phase or not? So I was like, here, playing this guitar. Let me solo it up here. And I was like, listening to him like, God, is that double mic'd or is he just, I happen to know that these guitar players are really good. I was like, is he playing so well that it just sounds like double mic'd or is it actually double? But I do think it's double mic'd. But what was weird is I brought it up and I'll play it here and I'll flip the phase. So it's like this. Oh, let me pan it to the middle real quick. So it's like this. So I flip the phase. And I definitely hear a tone change, but it's not like I was expecting. And I think probably one mic is closer to the amp. It just says, it's like Nick 57 and then Nick RM. I'm not sure, Royer maybe? But maybe they had a mic out away from it because it doesn't sound like a rear mic. That doesn't sound like the rear of the amp. So I don't know what it is, but I was like, you know what? It sounds good. I'm going to kind of go with it now. But yeah, to answer your question, a lot of what I'm doing is solving phasing issues. Now, as far as causing phasing issues, that would be easy to do. Like a lot of times I'll see people do like parallel compression things and doubling up the track. And I know that there's all this like delay compensation in here. So like if you have two tracks and you add a plugin, it's supposed to line it all up. But I don't know. I'm like one sample, one track. Like if you got the same sound twice on two different tracks and one's like literally one sample out of timing with the other one, it'll sound different. So I always just double up the plugin. So for instance, like on drums, I mean, I'll use this as an example. So like, I'm not doing it. There's no parallel compression going on the drums right now, but let's say I'm going to do it. So here, I'm going to make this one purple too. Oh, where's my color window? Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on. I got to switch something here because I want to change the colors here. And I need a fifth monitor. I'm running. Hey, show them that rear mic back there real quick.
Also, Gringo Lobo says you can sum to mono and see if it sounds wonky.
Yes, that's the other thing I do. Well, in that case, it wouldn't have made sense summing to mono because I just had them both up the center. So it wouldn't really matter. But yeah, like definitely on stereo stuff, when work comes in, I am, if it's in stereo, I put it in mono and I'll listen to it that way too, just to see. That's a really good point. Anyway, we can go back to the DAW here. But yeah, I'll just show that because I got 4 screens and I'm realizing I need a 5th one somewhere. But let's say I'm going to do parallel compression on the drums. Not that these need it. Even if I was like, say, like got lo-fi on one of the auxiliary returns on the drums, I'll put another one on the other side and I just won't do anything with it. Maybe I'm just being overly suspicious, but I just want to make sure that the processing, like what the drums are running through, are exactly the same. So like, let's say on one drum auxiliary return, I've got this. On the other one, if I don't want to change the EQ, I'll just have it in there like that. Just not do anything to it. That's the main thing. Because I think I'll see people like double up a track and put different processing on it. And in the process, they end up doing something with the phase. So I hope that answers your question on that. Hold on. Mill, you said just your bit rate. Oh yeah. So yeah. And if anybody else has got any other questions, let me go back to these guitars real quick. I really like the guitar parts in here, and where was I? And this is actually a job I got to get done. I've just been busy. But yeah, I should have let them know I was working on their song today. I just got a text from Darren, the guy who recorded and started the mix on this. But I don't even know if he knows if I'm streaming now. I mean, he is a drummer after all. You know what I'm saying? You know how drummers are. You know what I do? He put this like Pro Tools compressor on there, and I actually like it. I'm actually leaving a lot of things that he did. He had a long release on it. I sped it up because I like that. And I want to put a little bit of a delay on it. Let me do this because this part is doubled. So Nick's doing this. Oh, I thought I had this thing looping. So I'm going to put a delay on both these guitars.
Gringo Lobo points out there's a built-in VST or RTAS delay compensation in Pro Tools.
Yeah, I know that. I just don't trust it, man. I don't trust it. I mean, if you can see the bottom of my mixer here, you can see that I've got delay compensation turned on. But I'm just, I go back to the old days with Pro Tools that you had to do that manually. There was like this little a time adjustment, delay adjustment thing. You'd put it on all your inserts. So every time you added a new plugin and it changed, you had to go to all your tracks and do a little mathematical calculation and type in the number to get everything lined up. And the computer will handle it. Sorry, I don't always trust the computer. There's been a few times things are like, that's not really right.
Also, why does widening of a track create phasing issues?
Okay. You know what? He was asking about creating phasing issues, and that here is something I have noticed. Sometimes there's stereo widener plugins, and they all work differently. And there's a couple of them that you put it on and you make it wider, and you go, oh, that sounds really good. Hit your mono button. Hit the mono button on your controller there, because sometimes they're actually doing that through phase, messing with phase. And to me, does not sound great. There's a new one out. Let me see if I can find a stereo sound in here. God, I don't know if there's any stereo sounds on this song whatsoever. Let me just try it on the drums, for instance. So there's this new plugin by Air. So Air, I always thought of Air as like a plugin for Pro Tools that was built by Pro Tools, but actually they're not with Pro Tools anymore, and they're putting out new plugins. And I just got sent a few weeks ago 43 plugins by this company, and they all just came out like last week. But there's one in here, Stereo With, and I gotta say, I really like this one. Let me solo up the drums. Actually, drums are not a great thing to test it on, but there's just not really any much thing in this mix. Everything's kind of in mono. But this plugin here actually does a pretty good job of widening things. So here's the drums without it. So let me put the widener on it. Well, you know what? It ain't doing shit because it's just all mono. But you know what? As to why, getting back to the question, why would widening it cause phasing issues? Well, because if you have two mono tracks, right? And you throw one out of phase and pan them apart, it's going to sound weird, but it's actually going to sound wide. So I don't know the mathematics behind it, but a lot of the stereo widener plugins are messing with phase and stuff like that. Also, as I showed earlier with doing the fake vocal double, and I was just shifting it backwards, I don't know, I probably shifted it back about 40 milliseconds or 20, 30 milliseconds. If you don't shift it back enough, it's going to sound like it's out of phase. You want to move it far enough so it doesn't sound too phasey, where the waveforms are just slightly out. I also will sometimes do something with delays, where if I've got a guitar and I pan it to the left and then I delay it on the right and I do something. Once again, if it's not far enough delayed, it could sound out of phase. So that's an issue. So whenever you're doing any kind of widening, do a mono test. If you've got a controller, like I've got this one, I've got this Crane song here, it's got a mono button, or you could just, there's probably a plugin you can put on your master output that'll switch to mono. Always test that stuff. When you're trying to make something wider, man, always test it in mono, because a lot of times it's actually throwing it, it's doing some stuff with the phase. So if you test it and it sounds quieter or sounds weird, it's doing something with the phase. It's funny, this mix is interesting because everything's so mono. Like I've got stuff hard pan, but there's hardly any actually stereo sounds in this whole mix. So anyway, right here, I'm going to put a delay on the guitars. I'm going to send the delay output to my instrument master because I've got an instrument master. And I'm going to set the input to, where is it? My guitar delay, echo guitar. And then both of these guitars have their own, because I'm multi-micing them, I'm just running them into a mono auxiliary return so I can just kind of like mix them together. So now I'm going to send to this delay here, and I'm going to try Echo Boy. Well, not Echo Boy Jr. Wrong plugin. Hold on. Let me put in regular Echo Boy, which is one of my favorite plugins. Here we go. I'm just going to mess around with something here. Let's go. Oh, I need to gain it up a little bit. Let me send a little bit stronger to it. I don't know.
Gringo Lobo points out it will comb filter with one track out too far. Can also sound cool.
Yeah, you know what's interesting though about Gringo Lobo? Like, so one of my favorite artists in the world is Lindsey Buckingham, who is whatever, the guitar player for Fleetwood Mac, and he put out a solo album called Out of the Cradle. Out of the Cradle?
Yeah.
And when did that come out? Was that like in the 90s?
I'm not sure. I
But
think the 90s.
I always loved that album, and then I was working at the old Tree Sound here in Atlanta on a big SSL, and they had some phase meters, and I was comparing my mixes to other mixes, and I thought, let me compare to that, and in that room, I'm listening to it like, it's really wide, and I look at the phase meter, and there is shit out of phase all over the place, and I don't know if it's Chris Lord-Alge or Tom Lord-Alge or one other kind of guys mix it. I think sometimes these guys are definitely throwing things out of phase. Now, just because something's out of phase doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Like, even though it's kind of weird, and so I put it in mono, and I definitely heard some stuff disappear.
1992.
1992 is when this album came out. I love this album. But the funny thing about it is, like, yes, you should check it in mono to make sure it's all good. But the fact of the matter is, like, they said probably on here, I don't know if you guys are here, like, I think on Instagram it's definitely in mono. But in most cases, people are not listening to things in mono. So what is it? Does it really matter? You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely like, and I've also noticed on like certain keyboard plugins, like software instruments and actually hardware keyboards, I'll listen to a sound and I'm like, God, that's kind of cool sounding. But if you put it in mono, you realize like, oh, they're definitely doing some stuff with the phase. So, you know, just don't get your panties in the wad about it is what I'm saying. You know, it's like, yeah, check it out. Things like drums and bass, but things like guitars and sometimes keyboards, I think it's all right to be a little bit out of phase. I mean, you know, who says like, I mean, you can, you know, to be honest with you, you can kind of just do whatever the hell you want. I mean, it's like, if it sounds good, it sounds good. Yes. You know what, Gringo? I'm not checked with comb filtering that much. I definitely do stuff with phasing, you know? I guess with me, I don't worry about it so much on anything above, I don't know, 300 or 400 hertz. At a certain point when you get high up, it doesn't freaking matter because the damn waveforms to me, it's my main concern when it comes to phase is anything in the lower low end because that's what's going to make all the difference in the world. Oh yeah, let me mess around with this a little bit. I'm going to do this as a ping pong delay. You know, I don't know how much he's going to help because he's already so mid-rangey sounding. I want to put on, hold on. I'm going to put on some modulation here. That. Something like that might be cool.
Take a look right at the sun.
Yeah, I'm so early on this mix. It's amazing how mid-rangey his guitars are. Now, there is something going on here that Darren did. Hold on. I don't know. Might be too mid-rangey for me. Did I do anything here? I did add a little mid-range. I'm going to bring that back a little bit. But I love mid-range. Love mid-range. But I didn't do it here. And then let me actually go to the last chorus because it goes around a little longer. Where is the last chorus? Where am I looping? Oh, I'm looping that. There's another guitar part that I want to kind of bring out in the mix a little bit more. So that's kind of like the main jingly thing going on there. But there's also this. Ooh, I forgot about this breakdown here. Oh yeah, that's like a fake lead up. It's like a false chorus, I guess you might say, if that makes any sense. I really like this song. I just got to say that I've been really blessed the last few weeks to be working on some really good stuff. I like pretty much like everything I work on, but the last couple weeks, I just got done mixing 2 Rehab songs, which are just weird but quite genius. Oh, wait, he doesn't have this other guitar part in the last chorus.
Shout out to Berlin.
Berlin? Oh, somebody from Berlin is here? Hey, man, what's going on? I used to live in Berlin. I lived in Berlin in the 70s. Oh, my God. Was it? I lived, I don't even know how to tell you what part of town it was. It Luchsteinerweg? I don't know if I'm saying it right. Anyway, I loved Berlin. I lived there for 3 years. But that was during the Cold War. I lived in Berlin when it was like walled off. And there was like, my city was surrounded by a wall and minefields and barbed wire fences and machine gun towers. So, but it was still a great place to live. It's not like you saw that stuff all the time. But if I went to my friend John Sprankle's apartment and looked out his bedroom window, you'd see some grass and the playground, and then the wall, then the minefields, then the barbed wire, the dog runs, and then the machine gun towers, and then you could see into East Berlin. It was a trip. Glad to see you here.
They wonder, what can I do that my piano also sounds great on a phone speaker?
So, piano, I don't know if I have any piano in this song. God, I don't think there's any keyboards in this song. Well, I mean, there's some synthesizers. I always advocate messing around with the mid-range. Here's an interesting thing to do. Well, not like we go to stores with stereos much anymore. Or with, never mind, I'm not going to say that anymore. You can't really do it. But if you think about stereo systems, some have more high-end, some have less, some have more low-end, some have less. But all speaker systems have mid-range, right? That's an area is going to be there. I spend a lot of time messing around with mid-range so it can be represented on smaller speakers, even like 808s. Like an 808, like on rap music, sometimes you just can't hear it on smaller speakers. So if you distort it, it'll create some, quote-unquote high-end, which is usually going to be more in the mid-range. But on pianos, I find that if I'm boosting, so it's like 2.1K, 2K, 2.3K. I'll do a narrow bandwidth and I'll boost that on a piano. Most pianos sound good there. But also if you get into these areas of the below 1K, areas that normally people get scared of, but sweep around that area on a piano. It's like there's like a lot of richness there. So like take your EQ and boost it up and sweep from 1K down to like, I don't know, 400 hertz, 500 hertz. A lot of times it's around 6 or 7. And it's like these areas that normally you'd think you don't want, it can sound beautiful on a piano. And it'll help you get it up in the mix. But that's a good question. The other thing I'm doing is like right now, hey, let's switch to the back camera here, Harper. So if you look here, I've got Yamaha NS10Ms. Those are the ones with the white speakers. And you can't really see it so well, but these are Haflers. And I've got a big subwoofer. And they're like really big, like, hi-fi sounding speakers, but NS10Ms are very mid-rangey. You can switch back now. But I'm actually mixing on them now. I spend probably 80% of my time mixing on the NS10Ms. And I do that. It's not like mixing on a phone, but it helps me zero in on the mid-range, right? So if you want your piano to pop out in the mix, boost a little like 2K or something like that, although that might start to fight with a little bit of your vocals, but like boost that 100 hertz or like 1K down to 500 hertz, sweep it around, and you're going to find a spot. Find that part where you just hear this nice harmonics and then bring it down a little bit. Okay, so Tremilli15 says, I just want to say I did that reverb boost that Billy did on the last live last week. And one of my sessions and my clients loved it. What did I do with the reverb? I don't know what the hell I did. Tell me, because maybe I'll do it. Maybe it was a good idea. I don't know. I don't know what exactly I did with the reverb boost. Sure, Victor. Speaking of mid-range, these guitars are very mid-rangey, but it's going to help. But the thing about it is, here's the other thing. Here's my theory about it. If you have a really good sound, if you got a guitar or a vocal or a bass or drums or whatever, here's the sign that you got the right sound. You can turn it down. If you got something in the mix and you keep trying to turn it up, you keep trying to turn it up and it's never working, it means there's something wrong with the sound. Just turning it up isn't always the thing you got to do, although sometimes that's all you got to do. But if you got a really good like tone on an instrument, you should be able to turn it way down. Like these guitars here, they're super mid-rangey, and I did a couple other things to them. Now I can turn them down. You right? They're going to pop out in that mix.
GSC wonders, what about mixing on Yamaha HS8s? Is it similar to mixing on NS10s?
Okay. I can't say I've got any experience with that particular Yamaha speaker, but I will say that some of these other Yamaha speakers, and they got the white cones and they're self-powered. I haven't liked any. I don't know about those in particular. I haven't liked any of them. I haven't liked a single one of them. I will say the other thing you could do is actually just get a home stereo. Like I used to mix with a Sharp home stereo, and it wasn't a super mid-rangey system. It's just like something I might have in their house, and I would actually set it up behind me. So I was like referencing on 4 different sets of speakers, but a lot of times I was on that stereo system. But I don't know. I can't really speak to those particular Yamahas. All I know is that I haven't liked any of them. Why the vocal reverb? I don't really EQ, Nikki. I don't really EQ the reverb that much. Sometimes I'm rolling off a little bit of low end on the reverb. That's about it. I don't really EQ the reverb too much. I just pick a different reverb. You know, sometimes I might put a little saturation on the reverb, but I'm not really doing it. So Tremil15, you're saying you cranked it up like on the side volume.
On the send side volume,
Oh,
saying that was the cool thing you did last stream.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I feel like this kind of gets into gain structure. I'll see people often like for instance, let's go to these vocals right here, right? I hadn't really messed with any of these. Oh, hold on, let me switch to this other reverb here. What were they using? This is just what came into me. I don't really use real verb. This is what was sent to me. But so for instance, here on these vocals, she's singing and we're sending to the reverb. Let me see how he's got it sent. Okay, he's doing exactly what I tell people not to do. Sorry, Darren. So he's got it down a little bit. When I send to my reverb send, and of course I've got the reverb. You don't put the reverb on the vocal track and mess with the mix. You put the reverb on an auxiliary return, set it at 100%, and then send to it. I always send a pretty strong signal to my reverb. Now, this comes from the old days of having outboard gear and always fighting noise, that the goal was to get your input to any outboard gear as hot as you can get it without distorting, so you can turn down your output so it cuts down on the noise. But I feel like there's something about hitting any kind of effect. Oh, and look at this. Oh, here we go. His reverb on the vocal. I don't know if you can see this here. Let me zoom in. Darren, look at this. This is his vocal reverb return. His mix is not on 100%. 100%. Boom. There. That's the first thing, right? Sorry, I'm not trying to embarrass Darren. He's doing a great job, but he's learning. And like I said, I'm actually keeping some of the stuff that he did because some of this is genius. But a lot of people, they don't know. So anyway, I try to send a pretty strong signal to the reverb because I feel like that it just seems like what you want to do. This is just my opinion. I'm not going to get in a bunch of reasons. Send a strong signal to the reverb. And if you can see right here, the input,
Take a look
right there, it's pretty good. I'm getting pretty high up there. That allows me to turn down my return. It also gives me a nice strong signal that if I want to run into something else, he's actually got compression on the reverb. That's kind of interesting. Let me turn it off. That's kind of cool. And then he's running into lo-fi, which I do a lot. And that means, like, so if you're sending a strong signal to the reverb, then it's pushing out a strong signal coming out. And then if you're going to do any EQing or compression or whatever after the reverb, although he's got it before the reverb on here, I just feel like that's the best thing to do. That's my opinion. Any other questions here?
No, Gringo Lobo points out, try an Alesis Bitman, much fun. They need a plugin for that.
Alesis Bitman, what is that? Is that like a outboard piece of gear? I don't know what that is. It's kind of funny, like back in the 90s and early 2000s, you probably can't see it back here. I've got I got a couple midi verb 2s. I got some quadriverbs. And of course, I've got, like I showed this earlier, this Alesis wedge. And I was always embarrassed by them because, I'd worked in bigger studios with all these lexicons and all this fancy stuff. And so I was always embarrassed by it, and I made a video about this. I've got a video on my YouTube channel where I compare my cheap old outboard reverbs against plugins. And I got to tell you, that MIDI Verb 2 sounds better than a lot of these goddamn reverb plugins out there, man. And actually, I used this guy on a mix for rehab 2 days ago. And now, by the way, I'm getting my mixer put in here. We're going to start doing it today. I'm going to have some of this stuff permanently patched in. Some of that outboard gear is great. So I don't know what a Alesis, what did you call it? Hold on. Let me look this up. What was it? Alesis what was it? Bitman? I think that's right. Never heard of it. Bitman? Alesis Bitman? What is this? Hold on. Never heard of this. What is that? Huh? Ooh. That's one thing I like about these live streams. Like, people are always telling me stuff like, I didn't know about that. Like, I did a live stream last year or something, and it was like trying out free delay plugins or reverb plugins, and somebody turned me on to this plugin called Delay, like D-E-E-D-E-E-L. I can't remember. It's a
He says it's from the 90s. It's pronounced Bitterman.
Oh, Bitterman.
And it's the Mod FX line.
Okay, I'm gonna keep this tab here on my Chrome here. But yeah, but doing these live streams, I learned so much. And somebody told me about this plugin right here. I think I got it in Pro Tools here. Hold on. Do I? Oh yeah, this one here. This is something that somebody turned me on to in a stream, and this plugin is really cool, man. It's got some really cool, like, reverb effects. Like, let's see if I can pull it up. I kind of like it, actually, for the reverbs more than I like it for the delays to some degree, although there's some great delay. But hold on. Yeah, hold on. Let me go. There's these reverb settings that are, like, wild. Like,
see what you've done. Take a look right at the sun.
maybe not for this song, but there's some cool... But some of the delays are like really freaking, I don't know, it's just like, there's some like exciter type things in here. Non-delay. Old recording, what is that? Like kind of mess up the delay, so it's like crackly. I don't know, I really like this plugin. I know I'm off subject. I got onto some dang rant here about something. I don't even remember what it was now. Oh, hey, Casey, what's up? Casey! A little weird things on there, so I'm going to end up, like, doing that in the future, but at a certain point, I got to get it in here. I can always just go through the trouble of pulling it out. But, OBS, did we lose?
No, you're back.
Okay, something happened there. But anyway, Casey, yeah, after the stream today, I am going to be, here, let's go to the back camera here. I'm going to be pulling all of this out as soon as the stream's done. All of this is coming down, and I'm going to be moving the Argosy desk days ago. And, boy, I seem to be losing OBS here. I hope y'all are still there. But anyway, I have not even, let's go down to her vocals. Yeah, look at this. So this is mostly one take. I punched her in here. I punched her in here. I did like 3 punches. I'm not even putting fades. There's no EQ or anything on here. There's no tuning. There is no tuning in here. Listen to this. Such a great singer.
In between the plastic. Lately I've been thinking there's too little to feel. So I need something drastic. Race and train.
But I got to dirty up her vocals. I put some just saturation on. But yeah, maybe I'll put a little bit of tuning on something, but she's just one of those people who just sings, and that's just it. Hey, and y'all let me know if we're still happening here. I keep getting this message on the screen that says OBS disconnected for some reason or something like that. I'm not sure what that's about. But once again, if anybody's got any questions about mixing, let me know. I'm going to try putting some distortion on her vocal or some saturation. Oh, you know what? I'm going to try, speaking of air, I'm going to try this because I use this on a Tokyo Teens mix. Where is it? A Flavor. It might be too much, but this thing's kind of cool. The only thing I don't like about this plugin, it turns everything into a stereo channel, so I just got to pan it to the middle. But this thing's a cool plugin right here. So it's got this thing for vocals. It's Megaphone. Let's see what this sounds like.
In between the plastic.
It might be too much. And unfortunately, there's no mix on this plugin, but
In between the plastic.
it's kind of cool.
Lately I've been thinking there's
Hilton
too
Jones
little.
wonders, what are these fades? Are they automation?
Fades.
As in fading away, fade.
Now, when you say, what are these fades, I was referring to earlier about putting fades on the files. Oh, fades. Okay. So, very important. Let's solo this up. So let's say, let's say I'm doing a vocal punch. Here's a good example. So the fade is this, where there's 2 files coming together. And you see I've got a fade here, like a lot. And actually, sometimes I'll get mixes in and there's no fade here. And normally it's all right. Let me turn off any effects here. So normally it's no big deal. So we're going to go across that section there with no fade on it.
To a place for
You don't really hear anything. But sometimes if the fade, like sometimes you're going to do a fade in the middle of a vocal. Let me see if I want to put say, I want to do go across. These are 2 different takes, and I don't put a fade in. So you got this.
take me to
Did you hear that little pop in there?
take me to
This little pop because, look, it's 2 different takes. But that's what I want. So what you do is you go like this, and it does a crossfade where it's kind of like, if you actually think about it this way, another way to think about a fade, it would be like this, right? Let's say it's on 2 different tracks. Crossfade is essentially this. What you're doing on one track, it's basically like this and this. I hope y'all can see this clearly. It's just letting one file is kind of being faded out and the other one's being faded in. But we do it on the same track like this. So we go like this. So you hear the pop. Let me play it again.
take me to
You hear that? So what you want to do is do this. You do a little fade.
take me to
Boom. Nice and clean. So that's what I meant when I said fades. And a lot of times when I get stuff in from clients, they do a bunch of editing and they don't put fades in. So I got to go through and check them out. I don't necessarily have to do them by hand. On vocals, I'll definitely go through. But if it's like a drum set, like for instance, let's come up here because I know these. Well, actually, these are all. Oh, he edited and consolidated them. But like for instance, here, like there's these big drums. You could highlight all of them. I think I already did this last night, but I can highlight all of them in Pro Tools, and then I go, Control or Command F it brings up this thing, and you have all these choices here. I can say for fade-ins, I've got it set at 2 milliseconds. For drums, I might make it 3. Fade out, I might run it as long as 80 milliseconds or whatever. But then you got in the middle here, you got your crossfade. You can set what kind of fade it is. Like, is it an equal up and down, or are they kind of like this, like the way the volume comes down? Also, with this, I've got it set up so it's only going to create new crossfades and new fade ins and outs because I've already put some in there. But you could do it where it redoes every fade in there. I can go adjust existing fades, and then it'll just do it automatically, and then it'll just do all of them. But it's very important, and sometimes I get pretty frequently mixes from people, and they've done all this work, and they hadn't put fades in, and it's not that big of a deal if I have the individual regions. But sometimes people forget to put their fades in, and it's baked in, like they've consolidated it. As an example, let me come back to these vocals here.
Hey, Bobo Lavorna, I'm sorry if your feed's freezing up. Yeah, we seem to be having some intermittent freezes, but they seem to resolve themselves. So hopefully you can still watch.
Yeah, I don't know what's going up on. Also, and the other thing is, if you're watching this on Instagram, it tends to be the worst. I'm also on Twitch and YouTube right now as well. Nick, I'm not sure I understand your question there.
Also, Gringo Lobo points out non-zero cross point makes pops. And
yeah, so what he's talking about with the fade thing, I don't worry about it with vocals so much, but a good point there. Who was that again?
Gringo Lobo.
Gringo, you need to be on my streams more, man. You got a lot of good points. So, let's say, and actually I was dealing with this earlier on the bass, and he's got some distortion on here. I don't know how much. Actually, let me do it on the sub bass here, and hopefully, I don't know if you'll hear this on the phone. Hold on. Whoops. Oh, let me solo this up. So this is a good example. So let me zoom in on the bass. This is where it's going to be more noticeable. So let's say, for instance, let's just say, for whatever reason, I've got, let me just copy this. I'm just going to put it somewhere else in the song. And let me just put it over here, right? Boom. So if I want to not have a pop in there, I could put a fade on it, but sometimes I'm trying to lengthen out a bass note. Actually, let me do it this way. It's in here. They did it a couple points where they wanted to lengthen a bass note, and because right here's a good example. Let me make this track bigger. And so here is a bass part, and this bass was played in live. So you can see there's another note here starting, right? The next note, and you wanted to come out here, and you could just put a fade in, right? But the problem is, and it'll probably be fine. Let me just play it. So if it's like this, yeah, you don't really hear a pop because I got the fade in there. If there's no fade in there, you're going to hear a pop. You hear that little pop right before the next note? Is that loud enough? I'm going to turn it up some. So here it is without a fade on that edit. If I put a fade on it, even though the waveforms are not lined up perfectly, if I just put a fade on it. Whoops, hold on. It's pretty much gone. I can hear a little something in there, but what I'm doing on bass, because it's so crucial, what I'll often do is I'll actually move, like in this case, because it's all right if the bass is a little behind the beat, I'll actually move it to line up with the waveform a little bit more so that they, as you can see here, like it's coming down, zero cross point is where the waveform crosses this middle line here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it like here. So boom. So now if we play it, I think there won't be a click or a pop. Yeah. Technically, you don't need a fade, but even if I do that on a bass part, I still put a fade there because I don't want to worry about it. So that's actually something I don't necessarily do on all instruments, but definitely I do on bass when I'm trying to lengthen something out.
Somebody asks, So how come you're so transparent? Meaning, like so willing to give so much information on what you do?
Well, because I am going to be putting out some mixing courses that hopefully you'll go pay for, but just dude, I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it's still, I could give you so much information, but there's still much more to learn. And dude, it's not just about these techniques. And that's another thing I need to make a video about for my course that kind of goes with all of it. A lot of it's how you listen. One of the reasons I started making courses is because I do private mixing coaching for people, like either online, or I'll have people, like if they're in Atlanta, I had people come over here and they'll bring their rig over here and I will mix their song on their rig. I'm doing one on Cubase now, which is a nightmare. Even though it sounds good, it's hard to work with. But I'm showing how to mix on his rig, right? And so sometimes when I'm giving people mixing lessons, there'll be stuff in their mix. I'm like, why did you do that? And like, oh, this was in so-and-so's mixing book. And it's like this bizarre fucking technique. And some of these are like books by real famous mixers, but they are like using these really advanced techniques, and people get in there like, oh, this is you make a double of the bass and blah, 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 and they do all this weird stuff. Like, I never do that stuff. Mainly it's just their technique, but it never works for anybody. Anybody that I've given lessons to, these weird techniques do not work because they're skipping some basic stuff. And my courses are about very practical mixing techniques. Like, for instance, somebody was here last night and we were talking about recording, and, people getting all these weird, there's a lot of miking techniques, but my theory is like, I point the microphone at the sound. I make sure it's not distorted. Boom. End of story. That's like 75% of it, man. But with mixing, there's similar things. It's like how you listen. And some of it's some very, like what he was just saying, oh my God, I'm so tired right now. I forgot his name again. The guy who keeps coming up and like really like, oh, hey, Soulful Playground, what's up? Who was like talking about zero cross point. But that's a really practical thing. It's like
Gringo Lobo.
Thank you so much. Gringo, hey, Gringo, please join my Discord. I would like to have you as part of the community. You've come up with some of the best questions and comments and all that. So if you could join my Discord, I'd love to have you as part of the community and being involved. And, I like it when somebody asks me a question. I'm like, oh, okay. But the point that Gringo was saying is about the zero cross point, but also like things with phase. Like, I'll see these courses and nobody's talking about phase. And like, that's one of the first things I check. Like, it can affect everything. I get drums from people like, oh, they sound bad. And you can EQ all you want, but if you don't have the bottom snare mic or checking the overheads or room mics, if they're not in phase, like nothing you do, you're like trying to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, man. It's like, try to like avoid getting shot, But as far as me being transparent, shit, I'll talk about anything. I got a couple secrets I'm not showing anybody. But a lot of this is, I could show you this stuff for hours on end, and I hope it helps. But there's a lot more involved. A lot of it's how you listen. And there's ways to learn how to listen and ways how to deduce things. And also process. A lot of what I talk about is the process. So, yeah, I encourage everybody to watch these streams. But when I start putting out my courses, which I'm eventually going to get my live mixing course out, you're going to go in there and you're going to go, oh, I get it. So sorry, I'm not giving you everything, but I just don't have the time. It's like I would be here all week, like on my live drums mixing course for like mixing live drums. I've already got 2 hours that I've filmed for this course, and I haven't even gotten any special. I hadn't gotten a reverb. I hadn't gotten a compression. I haven't gotten it's just really the basic stuff, like setting it up, certain things you got to check out, kind of process and all that. So, and which I think is kind of like the main thing. Oh, Casey, the name of this. Oh, yeah, Casey, this is the guy that I had them in the studio. And Ansley Stewart is singers. They called it the Ansley Stewart Band. But they're actually trying to look up the name of the band. We're trying to figure, the Pause? Was that it? Yeah, there's a name. They don't really, they're kind of still deciding whether
Hey, Darren, did y'all decide on a name yet?
Oh, is Darren here?
He popped in on Instagram.
Oh, Darren. Hey, Darren, I found another reverb return that was not on 100%. Shame on you. Anyway.
Hey, so we got somebody wondering, is it okay to use nonlinear phase audio signals, or should we always make them linear first?
Non-linear phase audio signals or make them. Yeah, I don't know. Shit. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Hold on, let me pull this up. So we got this Fab Filter Pro Q3, which I love. So they got this thing called natural phase and linear phase. Now I know that this has something to do with it's like the way the EQ works. I don't ever use the zero latency. It's the lowest quality one. I tend to use the natural phase because I think I can't tell you why it sounds better. It just sounds better to me. As far as just an actual audio signal being a linear phase, or what was the other one he said? Where's I can't see the question.
Yeah, because it's up here a little bit. So is it okay to use nonlinear phase audio signals, or should we always make them linear first?
Now, do you mean when you're recording or mixing? To be honest with you, I don't even know what that means. I'm not going to bullshit you, man. It's like I've got a couple friends that are like super heavy-duty engineers, and they know more about this stuff. I'm totally self-taught. I didn't go to school. So there's like some of that stuff. I don't even know what that means, man.
Well, then how do you set up a recording?
Here, hold on. Please, if you could explain it to me, I'd like to know what the difference is, because I don't know. I mean, I'm just mixing what comes in. And then when I'm recording, I set up a mic, I record it. If it sounds good, that's it. Yeah, obviously I know some more technical stuff, but there's, like for instance, I'll give you an example. I was mixing somebody recently, and the bottom snare mic, if I looked at the waveforms, they weren't lined up perfectly. So I lined it up, which was technically supposed to be better. And I liked the one where it was kind of a little out. To me, that sounded better. Technically, it wasn't in phase. So that's my thing. Like, yeah, learn how to fix this stuff. But if it sounds better, it sounds better. So, okay, hold on. Linear phase is only necessary if you're high or low passing. Oh, okay. Oh, it's interesting that you say that. So he's saying that linear phase is only necessary if you're high or low passing. Natural phase is great for all around. So I'm glad you told me that, because I do a lot of high-pass filtering on plugins that I can't choose that difference on. And when I started making videos a couple of years about this, I got all these people going like, if you do a high pass, it's going to cause this phase thing. I'm like, I don't know. I've been doing this since the 80s, and doing it on boards where I'm on an SSL or whatever. I don't know what it is. It's a high pass. I freaking do it. If it sounds good, it sounds good. It's like, I don't really worry about that stuff so much. But now that you've told me that, I'm going to write that down. Hold on. Hold on. Let me go back. So what you're saying is, see, I learned so much. So what you're saying is, natural phase is good for everything, right? I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Boom. But if or whatever. But if I'm going to do this kind of stuff, I should go to linear phase. Boom. I'm going to check this out when I'm mixing. Well, it won't be today because I'm going to pull this whole place apart. That's interesting to know, because linear phase also has all this stuff like low, medium, high, very high, maximum. Obviously, I'm going to put it on maximum. Let's see what the delay compensation is on that. Oh, my God. Maybe I won't. Oh, my God. Look at this. Look at this. The delay compensation on a linear phase at max. Look at this. Oh, good Lord. I've never seen it's red. I've never seen it red before. Dude, you broke it, man. Like, you broke the record. But that's a good thing. Maybe I won't use max. Let's try high. Still red. Let's go to high. Still red. Let's go to medium. Yellow. Okay, I can deal with that. Red's bad, right? Ain't going to use that. Anyway, but that's a good thing to know. Oh, more for mastering than mixing. I mean, that's the reason, I send, I'll send stuff to a mastering guy, because the mastering guy I use actually would know the answer to that question. And yeah. And I think that's a good point, too, that maybe a little phase issue on one instrument here or one instrument is not that big of a deal, but on a mix? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, so Be More Audio says, I typically use the linear phase for creating a crossover on a bass guitar that's duplicated. I'm not sure. Are you talking about like a parallel compression or parallel track thing? Is that what you're talking about? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but that's a good thing to know. I'm gonna experiment with that. I can't today because I got to pull all this apart. But next time I'm mixing, I'm gonna try that out because I'm really curious about it. I just haven't used that one in Pro Q3 because I go to that linear phase and I'm like, my God, that even though I'm using this new Macintosh here, it's probably fast enough. It's just something about it was just kind of bugging me. And when I see too many controls, I was like, oh, that looks dangerous. So,
So to separate highs from lows, if I want to take a bass guitar and process the lows separately from the highs.
Oh, that is good because I actually do that. Once again, I've been doing it for years in analog and with plugins that choice was not there and I just did it. But now that you're saying that, maybe sometimes because there's been times in the past where I was doing that and it just never sounded right. But there was like, man, back when I started working in the box and definitely in analog, it's like what you had was what you had. But now that I know that, that's a good thing to know. I should probably take a screenshot. Oh, I can't screenshot on this thing. Am I gonna remember any of this?
I'll see what I can do for you.
Yeah, please, because I have a terrible. That's a really good. Thanks so much. Be More Audio. And please, and you're another one, please join my Discord. I love having people on here, and I would like to have you as part of the community to come with good questions and challenge me. And, because I don't mind somebody, because I'll admit when I don't know something, I mean, I know how to make something sound good. I don't necessarily know why. I can mix the hell out of something. And also, I produce and I play and sing and all that as well. But anyway, hold on. Was there I'm seeing a bunch of comments here.
Well, Gringo Lobo found us over on Twitch. Casey says, I've learned a little red can't hurt if it's not too long. Like peaking once in a while is okay, but mixing in the red's definitely not good.
Yeah. Yeah, Casey, sometimes I'll peak the input. This is something I do on bass guitar. And nowadays with clipping plugins, I guess I would use that instead. But for a long time, like if I'm doing like a bass guitar part on a rock song and I'm using a pick, I will actually, and I've got it in pre-fader metering on, I don't mind if the input hits red just a little bit once in a while. I know people freak out about that, but I just always like that sound. It's probably bad, but I always liked it. But yeah, for mixing, non-mixing, I don't do that. But definitely tracking, I do all sorts of illegal bad things.
Trying to get back to Soulful Playground a while ago, wondered, how do you set up recording a vocal track with someone rapping versus someone doing a voiceover where you want a very prominent, very close sound?
I don't do a damn thing different. I kind of record the vocals pretty much all the same, whether it's... Well, that's not true. That's not true. If I'm doing like somebody like reading like a voiceover, something like that, I'm not going to use my tube mic because it's gonna kind of... It'll sound great for singing, but there might be some extra noise or whatever. Also, if I'm doing a voiceover and I want some clean, I'm not going to use my Neve clones. It's going to be too colored. So yeah, I'm going to do something cleaner, like maybe my Cappies or the Avalon or something like that. But as far as like mic placement and all that, I don't know. I mean, maybe the room I'm in, like if I'm going to do a voiceover, I'll make sure they're in a very dead room. Whereas sometimes in vocals, I'll put them in a room with some live in it or like some ambience. But I do vocals here in the control room sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing a couple things different. But I guess the main thing would be if I'm doing a voiceover or somebody's reading a book or narrating something, I just make sure I'm using clean mic pre's, not a microphone that's too colored. I'll hit a little bit of compression. But when people are singing, oh, God, I'm doing all sorts. I mean, I'm hitting it hard, but it's enough. But as far as mic placements and all that, it's just like it's in front of them. If there's a little bit of extra semblance, maybe I'll kind of angle the mic, I'll kind of turn it just a little bit. But I'm not doing anything too crazy. Can I examine the mix in Zero Sum Groove by... Hey, can you write that down? This is actually something I've been thinking about doing where I kind of analyze mixes. It's just something, I guess we'll start putting together a spreadsheet. So Tyler Shep Music, thanks for that suggestion. I'll put it on a list. I'm not going to do it right now. I've been thinking about these mixing streams and about maybe doing some of that. There's a couple mixes that I've always really liked, so I'll put that on the list. That's a good one. Yeah, I'll check that out on another stream. I've got to probably end the stream soon because
Yeah, I was going to let you know.
yeah, because I got to pull all. And for any of you that's new here, let's show it again. So everything you see here after the stream, 5 minutes after I get off the stream, all of this is coming down. Let's go to the room shot real quick. So yeah, so all of this here is going to get pulled out, and then my Ghost mixer, which is sitting in the other room in this massive Argosy desk, let's go back to this back camera again, is going to replace this here. So I'm pulling all this apart. So for the next 3 days, I'm not going to be able to work. But I'll plan another stream where we analyze mixes. If anybody else has got suggestions after the stream, go to my Discord and just post it up there, and we'll put it on a spreadsheet. And I'll do a stream at some point in the future where I analyze mixes and all that. But I've been wanting to do that for a while. I've just been waiting for somebody to tell me to do it. BGV means background vocals, Nikki. BGV, background vocals. For some reason, though, I never do that. I just write BG, background. Let's see. Yeah, thanks, B More. I'm a little nervous about it. And you know what's crazy? I had just gotten all this wired up recently and because I got every room patched up. I got a room back behind me here. It's a smaller room for drums. I've got a big room upstairs with 16 mic lines run up there. I've got a vocal booth with 3 mic lines running there. I've got an amp room back in there with 8 mic lines running there. I got everything patched up. I got all my gear. I'm like, I'm done. And then I got this deal on the mixer I couldn't pass up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. So literally like the next day. So thank you so much. I've got to pull all this apart. And I got to be ready by Sunday because I've got somebody coming in to do drums. So yeah, I'm going to be working on that. Let's see if there's any...
I'm trying to. I don't know if I missed anything over here on Instagram, guys. There's been a bunch of cross chat, which is awesome.
So the Benson 9, what kind of power conditioner do you recommend? I'm getting static in my recording. I don't have a power conditioner. I mean, I do have a power conditioner for some of my rack gear. Here, I'm using a rack rider. It's nothing fancy. The main thing is I ran I'm in my home. I ran a brand new circuit from my my circuit breaker, which is not far from here. I put in new, and luckily I know how to do this stuff because I used to do home remodeling and all that. I put in a new breaker, and I ran really high quality, thick power cables, and I got specified outlets so that there's no outside lighting. There's no dimmer switches. Actually, I have one, and strangely, it's not causing any noise. So dimmer switches might cause it. So one of the things you might want to look at is make sure that, and you'll have to experiment. I don't suggest opening up your circuit breaker box. Unless you know what you're doing, do not do that. But go through wherever you're plugging your gear in and check to see if you've got new lights. Like start unplugging lights and stuff. Sometimes it's that. It might be something, you might have a plug in your room and there happens to be a plug upstairs or in another room that's on the same circuit and you got something plugged into it and that could be causing the noise. So back, like at my old studio, I had it all. I had like 3 outlets and I had this guy come in and he did something called a balanced phase wiring scheme, which I didn't understand. I didn't do that here, but I was having a lot of issues. So I had 3 outlets and everything in my studio that was doing audio was basically based off 3 outlets. I had one behind my mixer, one over by my tape machines, which later became my computers, and one behind me for my rack gear. No lights were plugged into that, no outboard stuff. So my suggestion is start unplugging things. And so I don't know why, but sometimes just trying different plugs, like start from 0. Plug in the basic things, your computer, your speakers, and just unplug everything else and start plugging things in. And if you hear a buzz, start with your computer off, of course.
Process of elimination.
Process of elimination. Go through and start unplugging. It's probably something like that. But it might also be where you live, because I have one of these guys I'm giving mixing lessons to. He's in a townhome, and he cannot get rid of the buzz. And it's probably Who knows? It could be a power transformer box in the neighborhood or whatever, but probably it's some lighting in your house.
Gringo Lobo points out it could be your phone charger,
Yes,
too.
phones. Yeah, I got my phone sitting right here next to me right now, but yeah, sometimes phones will do weird things too. So yeah.
He also says, let him know if you want to try the Mod FX pedal things, just send them back. LOL, I have all of them. You will love them, but he's located in Nebraska, which is kind of far away.
Cool. I'll check that out. Hey, Billy, do you have any? Hey, Rock Team, what's going on? Do you have any help on give me making drums? Are you talking about making like drum sounds?
Program drums, I think.
Yeah, I mean, hey, man, here's a good one. You'll like this one. If you have a microphone, get a plastic trash can, like an office trash can, like that big, or maybe a kitchen trash can. Stick a mic inside of it and hit the outside of it. Those make really great kick drum sounds. I mean, you can just use anything and just drop it into a DAW and mess it up, you know. I've got a couple of plastic trash can samples that I still use to this day that are really good. And then there was one, as actually I was up late last night. My buddy Ben was here, and I was at his studio years ago, and he was actually producing somebody else, and I was just hanging out in the session, and I said, oh man, you need a kick drum part that goes like this. And I was sitting next to the wall, and I took my fist and I went like this on a sheetrock wall. And he's like, that's the amazing sound. So he's like, don't move. So I was like, oh. So he put a microphone right here, and I just kind of banged my fist on the wall, and he recorded it, and we cut it up, and that's a kick sound I still use to this day.
Hilton Jones wonders, do you ever move the bass tracks
Yes.
in timing to improve the song's feel?
Absolutely. I'm always moving the bass part. I think it kind of depends on the music, but I feel like it's not just the feel, it's also the sound. I always feel like the bass part should be slightly behind the kick drum. People always talk about, I side chain the bass part, and I never do. And then it occurred to me like, oh, I'm always delaying the bass part. And actually, let me go to this song right here. It's a little different on this one because he's playing distortion, so it may not matter so much. But this is Robbie Hanley playing bass, and he tends to play a little behind the beat anyway while he's rushed on that note. So, but the funny thing about Robbie, no matter what he does, it always sounds good. But sometimes I'll nudge a bass part like a little behind a kick drum. So I kind of just, so I don't know, what's that there? Like, you know, bass parts are like, that's like, what is that? Let me see. That's like 26 milliseconds behind, and don't quote this number, but it's 26 milliseconds behind the kick drum, right? I feel like bass parts always sound a little better behind the kick drum, and there's a lot of reasons why, but I definitely move stuff all the time, and that kind of comes back to the thing where people are like, oh, you're being so transparent. Before you start messing with EQ, there's all these other things that I do before I start reaching for an EQ or a compressor or whatever. I go, what is going on? I solo up the drums. I listen to it. And then I look, it's like, oh, he's rushing the bass part. That's why it sounds, you know, although sometimes that's cool sounding. But yeah, I move stuff all the freaking time. And same with drums. If I get drums in and there's some overheads and I'm flipping the polarity and it never sounds right, I just look at it and I go, oh, I'll duplicate the playlist, you know, put a safety. I'll nudge around the overheads a little bit. 1-2 milliseconds, whatever. I do whatever I got to do to make it sound right. Even if it's breaking the rules, you know?
Yeah, Gringo Lobo says, yes, put a bass synth on the mic in the trash can like a Boss bass synth. And then he says, but don't give away all the secrets, man.
A bass synth, you mean like
a Boss bass synth.
Like you mean like to put a speaker, run a speaker into the trash can? That's Gringo. Man, you're coming up with the good stuff today, man. Like,
and also Roxy Mo says that he was probably overthinking it and feels silly asking some of these questions, but that you help give so much confidence.
Hey, there's no such thing as a bad question. Well, I mean, maybe there is, but don't ever be afraid of admitting that you don't know something, or when you're around, I think here's the biggest mistake I think people make. You know, I like having younger people in the studio, and I like having people around, and sometimes they want to ask questions because they're worried that they're going to sound stupid. And I'm like, but how else are you going to learn? And it's not stupid. You just don't know, man. And I ask questions all the time, like, you know, like what were they saying the thing about the linear phase and the natural phase? I could have faked it, but fuck, I don't know. Freaking hey, there's a lot of stuff to learn. Never be afraid of asking a dumb question. Ain't no such thing. The other thing that's interesting is asking questions that you think you already know the answer to. That's one of the most interesting tricks I've found is if I meet somebody who's like really knowledgeable, I'll ask them something that I think I know the answer to. And often they'll have an answer and I'm like, oh, I kind of didn't really have that right, or I didn't know, or there's this other angle. That's another thing, asking questions that you think you know the answer to. That's a great way to learn what you don't actually know.
And to clarify, Gringo Lobo was saying, do that for a kick sound. Drop the mic in the can, plug the mic into the pedal, and away you go. 808s for days.
Nice. I like that. Thanks, Gringo. Any tips on treating vocals? I always have a problem finding balance with them when EQing. I'm going to be ending the stream soon here in the next couple minutes. Unfortunately, I can't get into that too much. Just come back because I've got to get to this other thing here. But, you know, the first thing, that's such a wide open question. I would... There's a difference between like maybe the vocals sound bad or maybe they sound great. With me, I think with vocals is if I'm worried about EQ, I kind of start with pulling stuff out I don't like, generally speaking. You know, I was mixing some stuff recently and they'd recorded it in a room, a lot of ambience, and they'd cut out all the stuff between the vocals because I thought they were trying to help me, but it just cut off and it was really weird. And I had a real problem with it. So I just distorted the vocals. Like, sometimes, like, that's another trick. If the vocals sound bad, I know this is going to sound crazy. Try to make them sound worse. And then sometimes they end up sounding cool. I'll swing, like, officially Johari, just swing back and I'll... Crystal, please write this down. Maybe I'll do a stream more about vocals.
Okay.
But I'm going to have to end the stream because I got to start this process of pulling all the stuff out of the control room and all that. I really appreciate everybody being involved. Some great questions here. Devil Lock, yes, that's another one. Hey, man, if you want to try something on vocals, throw Devil Lock on it. And it'll either be terrible or it might make you go, oh, damn. Sometimes just taking something to the extreme can actually help it sound better. But I really appreciate everybody being involved. Thanks, Harper. Harper, say goodbye to everybody. You got to say goodbye.
See you, everyone.
Crystal, you got to say goodbye.
See you guys. Hey, thanks, everybody. And really cool today. A lot of good questions, a lot of good cross chat. I apologize if I missed anybody. Tune in again. Billy will be doing this every Wednesday.
Yes, and join the Discord. Getting a little bit more active on that, where people can ask questions. And once again, somebody was suggesting doing mix reviews and like listening to mixes or analyzing them. I think that's a great idea. I've been wanting to do that. So if anybody wants to like suggest some mixes, go to my Discord, pop them in there. We'll do a spreadsheet. Gringo, please join my Discord. You've come up with some of the best questions and suggestions today. I really like that. I love getting challenged, and I like people bringing new things to the mix. It's been really awesome. Crystal, your voice is... Somebody likes your voice. There we go. But anyway, everybody, y'all have a good day. I'll be back next Wednesday. I think I might do 3 o'clock again. So y'all have a good day. Thanks for watching. See you later. take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5, take whatever.